Hello there, welcome to this video live stream. So I'm getting a lot of questions about being keto and weight loss. And I wanted to start doing some video trainings that were in answer to your specific questions. So if you're watching this live and you have questions or you're watching the replay, welcome. And please feel free to post any questions that you have, whether they're related to this topic or other topics that you want to learn about. And I'm going to be using your questions to actually create content that's relevant to your specific questions. So this question came in about the difference between being a fat burner and a sugar burner underneath the umbrella topic of going keto. So what you may have noticed is that there's a lot of buzz around being keto, and it seems like everyone and their dog says that they're doing keto or believes that they're doing keto. And just before I explain the difference for you, because there's this myth out there that you have to be in a ketogenic state now to lose weight. So first of all, we need to look at well, what is being keto really mean? So what keto is basically a dietary approach. And also it's a inner state inside of your body, an inner physiological state. So this can be very confusing to people. So let's go back to where did this idea of being keto even come from? So being keto or going on a ketogenic diet is now used for weight loss. But the original intention of the ketogenic diet was to be a therapeutic diet, a diet that actually brings inflammation down in your body and then allows you to heal. And in the specific context that it was used was for children with epilepsy. So when a child would go on a diet, such as a ketogenic diet, this inflammation would go down in their body and they would stop having seizures. Okay, so it was actually developed as a therapeutic diet. Now let's look at why it works. Two reasons. One, it puts you in a physiological state that has your body use fat for energy. But the other thing it does is eliminates inflammation in your body. Any diet that eliminates inflammation in your body is going to cause weight loss, because one of the major blocks to weight loss is having inflammation. So it works on those two levels. But is it necessary to be in a ketogenic state to lose weight? Absolutely not. And you just know this from your own experience. You've probably lost weight in the past and you had no idea what a ketogenic diet was, right? And you weren't trying to be ketogenic and you lost weight, and you've seen a gazillion other people do that. So clearly you don't have to be in a ketogenic state to lose weight. So there's two different ways that your body uses fuel, gains energy for fuel. So the two different ways is, one way is to prioritize and utilize fat for energy. The other way is to use glucose for energy, which is the carbohydrate that you get from food. Most people are using sugar for energy, or glucose, carbohydrate, for energy. You have to actually be really intentional to get yourself into a ketogenic state. You have to eat very, very low carb. And for a lot of people, it can take quite a long time to actually get into that state. So most people who will tell you they're on a ketogenic diet are actually just on a low carb diet. They're not in a ketogenic state. It actually takes not just a really conscientious effort to get into a ketogenic state, but in order to do it in a healthy way that is not going to cause negative side effects in the future or near future, it needs to be done in a very properly formulated way. Because remember, it's a therapeutic diet. It wasn't designed to be done permanently or forever for weight loss. And think about it this way. Do you want to lose weight doing something that you can't do forever? Because if you can't continue to do it forever, the results that you get are not going to stay. Why? Because you're going to go back to doing your old, whatever you used to do, however you used to eat, which is going to lead to all your old results. Okay. So I'm not going to get into whether, or not ketogenic diet is healthy long-term, or if it, should be or a lifestyle. Because there are many people that now have it not as just a therapeutic diet, but they think of it as a long-term lifestyle. And I just want to say one thing about it. Let's think about it in the context of reality. So in the context of reality, you would be in a ketogenic state in certain times of the year when there were a huge reduction in carbohydrates, like say in the wintertime, if the industrial food complex didn't exist, Or if in times of famine, this is when you would go into a ketogenic state. This is a protective mechanism that your body has to allow you to still have energy so you can use the fat on your body for energy when you actually don't have the carbohydrates that you need. And of course, we're not just going to live on just carbohydrates. Obviously, that's not a healthy thing. It's always going to be a mix of carbohydrates and fat and protein. And that's, in all foods. So there's a specific purpose for being able to go into that ketogenic state to protect you in times of famine. Or in like winter when you're not exposed to a lot of food choices. So it's actually a healthy thing that we would cycle through on a regular basis if we didn't live in a society where we had the industrial food complex that provides for us all sorts of foods, a plethora of foods, forever, and to no end. Avocados in the winter and coconut in the winter in the north. Totally not natural, right? But so what our body has done is provided us with a way to live in our natural diet. Going into a ketogenic state would be something that you would actually do on a consistent basis. Of course, in our society, we don't do that because we don't often fast or we're not exposed to famine. We don't really use that aspect of our physiology. So what happens is as soon as you stop eating carbohydrate and you basically stop, you run out of your glycogen stores in your liver, which is stored sugar, then your body will go into a ketogenic state. So the quickest way to get into one is to fast, right? But for most people, they don't want to fast. So they're trying to get into a ketogenic state and they're going on these low carb diets to get into that state. But usually they don't actually get there. Instead, what happens is they end up in this low fuel. They're not really in a ketogenic state. So they're not primarily using fat for energy, but they also aren't giving themselves enough carbohydrates to feel good, okay, and to have energy to function. So no, you do not need to go into a ketogenic state to lose weight. You need to eat the right amount of carbohydrates that is going to allow you to not go into a state of excess sugar in your blood. Okay, so if you eat too much carbohydrate, you're going to elevate your insulin, and insulin is your fat storage hormone. Okay, so if you're constantly eating too many carbohydrates, you're going to be storing fats. It doesn't matter if those carbohydrates are like natural, healthy whole foods, like quinoa or oats or fruit or whatever. It doesn't matter if they're healthy. If you're eating too many of them, you're going to have too much sugar in your blood, and your body is going to be like, this is not good. We need to do something with it. The safest thing we can do with this excess sugar that we don't need, because we're not actually using it. We don't need it. Our activity level does not match these high carbohydrate foods. So we're going to have to get rid of this sugar. So it gets stored as fat. Okay. So fat doesn't make you fat. Sugar makes you fat. Now, each person is going to have their own carbohydrate tolerance. So depending on your carbohydrate tolerance, that's going to determine whether on being a sugar burner, meaning somebody who uses sugar or glucose or carbohydrates for energy, whether you can lose weight on a specific diet. Everyone is going to be totally individual, right? Depends on your tolerance. So we can think of insulin resistance, this topic of insulin resistance, as a spectrum. Okay, so if you are on the spectrum of insulin resistance, at the low end of it, you might have hypoglycemia symptoms. If you have hypoglycemic symptoms, such as maybe feeling like you need to eat all the time, like you have to snack, or you need to, when you get hungry, you're instantly hangry and you have to like run to the fridge, and anyone who gets in the way, you need to push them out of the way and you're in a bad mood. That's a sign of hypoglycemia. This is something that is a sign that you are not tolerating carbohydrates. You don't have good blood sugar. Okay, so for you, the more carbohydrates you eat, the fatter you're going to get. It doesn't matter if they're vegan, whole foods, natural, you're still going to get fat. That's what happened to me. I was eating a natural whole foods, primarily vegetarian diet. I was actually trying to eat animal foods again after being a vegetarian for 13 years. Here's my little sweet Daisy. And I became obese on that healthy whole foods diet because I had insulin resistance. I was on that spectrum. I had those symptoms, being hangry and needing to eat all the time and all those things, which we minimize often. And we don't often think of ourselves as that the conversation around insulin is relevant to us until we have a bona fide diagnosis of diabetes. And that's terrible. You don't go from, one day having perfect blood sugar to the next day being a full-blown diabetic. There is like a spectrum on the way there. So anyone who's struggling to lose weight and actually eats a healthy diet is on the spectrum of insulin resistance. Insulin, having a hormonal imbalance in the realm of insulin, means that you're also, it's like the first thing that like creates this domino effect. Then you'll end up having other hormonal imbalances, estrogen, progesterone, excess cortisol, all these different things. So you have to heal your blood sugar to be able to tolerate carbohydrates again. So the point is not to eat low carb forever or go keto forever to maintain your weight. The point is to actually heal this health problem called insulin resistance in order to allow you to get to the point where you can eat carbohydrates in moderation again, right? Think back to, here's an example of how this might look. When you're 20, you were able to eat a lot of, whole food, healthy carbohydrates like whole grains, legumes, and just like rice or bread or whatever, sourdough bread, and you maintained your weight perfectly, okay? Because it's not like those foods are unhealthy, but you were healthier, so you could tolerate it. So then you end up being 40 years old, suddenly the same diet, and you're overweight or obese. What that tells you is that you have insulin resistance to some degree. Okay, so basically my approach to weight loss is to heal the weight loss block resistance in the way. So for example, we talked about some of them already. We talked about inflammation, right? And now we're talking about insulin resistance. Okay, so my approach actually deals with insulin resistance. Like everybody has to deal with that. Okay, because fat storage comes down to hormones. Your fat storage hormone is insulin. So everyone who's overweight has to do that. So the entire Delish approach is the solution to that problem. It actually helps you heal yourself of your insulin resistance. And then every person has other different little things that are out of balance in their body. And to support continued weight loss and to become healthier, you have to address those weight loss blocks. So there we have it. That is why you don't have to go into a ketogenic state to lose weight, because you are designed as much to utilize fat for energy as using carbohydrates for energy. So if you, the only way that you can maintain your weight is to stay really low carb or stay in a ketogenic state, then what that says is that actually you have some other health imbalances that have not been addressed and have not been put back into balance, which is making you have to stay on a therapeutic diet to lose weight. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to stay on any therapeutic diet to maintain your health either. The diet should actually be the catalyst for you to heal yourself. And then after that, if you're truly healed, then you're able to eat everything in moderation without having to, suffer for it later, whether that's food sensitivities, gut issues, or gaining weight. All right. So thanks so much for watching. This is a little quick live stream about that. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll cover them in an upcoming video. And if anyone is interested in learning more about how you can get support to heal these health issues that lead to weight gain, feel free to message me and we'll have a chat. Thanks. Bye for now.